As always, our main strategy for the grammar questions is to correctly predict the rule before we start working on it. So you might be looking at this and be like, okay, the answer choices, they're clearly verbs. So we have to think about verb tense. Well, that's a start, but there is no verb tense rule on the SAT. Verb tense is 3 different rules, and we need to know exactly which one we're dealing with, because if we pick the wrong one, odds are good we're going to fall into a trap. So it's very important to be able to distinguish these. I have a whole lesson on the different verb tense rules. There's 3 of them, and you got to be able to tell them apart. For me, the first thing I'm going to always test is whether or not I can classify all of the choices as singular or plural verbs. If I can, that's pretty much going to set me on my track for solving the question. So focuses is a singular verb. Singular verbs end in S. Focus is plural. Are is plural. Were is plural. Now, just like that, I'm pretty sure I'm not just dealing with verb tense, I am dealing with verb agreement. In other words, I need to make sure that if I have a singular subject, I am using a singular verb to match it, or if it's a plural subject, I need a plural verb to match it. But luckily, we have a big advantage once we've identified this rule in the SAT. That the way they work, all of the official questions that have been released up to this point have the same exact pattern. They are all 3 versus 1 questions, where 1 will be singular and the other 3 plural, and we know that the one that's different is the answer. So A is almost certainly the answer. If it was the other way around, if there were 3 singulars and 1 plural, the plural one is probably going to be the answer. Now, we shouldn't just rely on that, because it's better to know the rule. The SAT is, of course, very tricky. They could always break this 3 versus 1 pattern if they wanted to, and I would bet that at some point they will, especially because I keep pointing it out in my videos. But we can now at least go into these sentences with a little bit more of a goal, right? We kind of know it's probably going to be a singular verb and a singular subject. And so now we kind of have a better shot of finding the right subject because we know what kind of subject we're looking for. So let's take a look here. We're going to start where the sentence begins, because that's the only place the subject can be, is within that same sentence. And it says, although each one of these plays, which include Henry V and Richard III, focuses on a single historical figure, some, such as Henry VI Part 1 and Henry VI Part 2, feature different episodes from the same monarch's life. So it's a very long sentence. But generally speaking, the verb is going to come after the subject, so it probably means we're looking at the first part. I also recognize that this which clause is just getting in the way, right? We got 2 commas. The word which is a dead giveaway that this is an extra clause. The subject of the sentence is not going to be in there, so maybe now we can hear it a little bit better if we got rid of that. Although each one of these plays focuses on a single historical figure, blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, I hear it, but I get why some people are still going to fall for the trap. Plays here is plural. And it's right before our blank, right? Especially if we cross out this extra clause here. So that seems like it should be choices B, C, or D. And that's what the SAT is hoping. They hope that you focus on that. And this is why, if we predict the rule correctly, we are not going to fall for the trap, because we know it's supposed to be singular and we recognize that each one is our singular subject. It's weird. But if you think about it, it makes sense, right? We're not talking about all the plays together. We're talking about each one of the plays, right? We're each one individually as a single play. That is what we're talking about when we say the word focuses. And so we have a singular noun and a singular verb. That is proof now that choice A is correct. You gotta learn to recognize the verb agreement rule. These are among the hardest questions on the SAT, but they are so easy if all you do is recognize from the start that you can categorize these verbs as singular or plural. If you can't categorize them as singular or plural, it's probably not this rule. And that's probably one of the other verb tense rules, and that's a reason you should watch the lesson on verb tense that I've made, because it'll go into all the details about how to tell them apart.